All right, sports fans, how's everyone out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Well, folks, you looked at it today and it was plain and simple a very interesting day down in Arlington, Texas. As if you've heard it once, you've heard it every year since 1996, and that is this is the year where things are going to be different for the Dallas Cowboys. And whenever January rolls around, their postseason struggles continue. Now, this year, the Cowboys caught the Philadelphia Eagles for the top spot in the NFC East and earned the much needed, if you will, second seed in the NFC. Now, the Cowboys were heavily favored today at home against the Green Bay Packers as they had not lost at home all season long. But it didn't take the Packers that long to expose the Cowboys' flaws today. And in just 3 hours, all of the Cowboys' big Super Bowl dreams were laid to rest. Now, it was prudent for Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, who, after winning the coin toss, decided to take the football. And that was important because Green Bay set the tone. They ran the football right down the throats of this Dallas Cowboys defense for a touchdown, ate up a lot of clock in the process, and they got that early 7-0 lead, and they really put this Dallas team on their heels early. Now, after one quarter, Green Bay was only up 7-0, but they set the tone, and they set the tone with their run game, and I'm going to touch on that a lot this evening. Now, the Cowboys, and I've talked about this before, they've had issues stopping the run all season long. And you knew that the Packers were going to go out there and attempt to exploit that today. Aaron Jones, 118 yards on 21 carries and three touchdowns on the ground. And of course, when you're able to run the football as effective as Green Bay was today, what happens? It sets up the play action pass. And of course, because of that, Packers quarterback Jordan Love was able to pick this Dallas secondary apart. 16 of 21 passing for 272 with three touchdowns. But honestly, for me, this game changed early in the second quarter when the Cowboys were already backed up deep in their own territory. And quarterback Dak Prescott was picked off by Jair Alexander, which set up Aaron Jones's second touchdown run of the game to give Green Bay the 14-0 lead. You figure right after that, Green Bay was able to force Dallas into a punt, and then they practically marched the length of the field for another touchdown when Love connected with Dontavian Wicks from 20 yards out to make it 20-0. Of course, Green Bay would go on to miss the extra point rather. But then when Dallas was trying to drive and get some semblance of order just prior to the half, Dak Prescott was picked off by Darnell Savage, who returned it 64 yards to give Green Bay the 27 to nothing lead. Now, Dallas would be able to rally and score at the end of the half to make it 27-7. They did get the ball to start the second half, but then even though they possessed the football for a lengthy period of time coming out of the locker room, more than 5.5 minutes, they had to settle for a field goal, and that was big because it made it 27-10. And any momentum that the Cowboys had at that point, I felt like slowed down. Green Bay got the ball right back, and of course, it was some more of the same formula that we saw in the first half: a heavy dose of Aaron Jones, mixing it up with their passes, and you kept this Dallas defense off balance. And when it was all said and done, Green Bay had another score to go up 34-10. Now, Dallas did respond by scoring to make it 34-16. Looked like they had a successful 2-point conversion, and this was another pivotal moment in the game. The successful try was called back because of a penalty. Green Bay decided to accept the penalty, of course. The Cowboys then went for the longer extra point, and Brandon Aubrey, excuse me, who has been almost automatic at home this season, missed the extra point, so it remained at 34-16. And then again, this Dallas defense could not stop Green Bay. And before you blinked, now all of a sudden it was 34. It went from 34-16 in favor of the Packers to now 48-16. And at that point, the it was all over except the shouting. Dallas would make it closer on the final ledger at 48-32, but honestly, this was a runaway from Green Bay, and we saw them at one point put in their backups, put in rookie quarterback Sean Clifford out of Penn State at quarterback before Matt LaFleur decided to go back to Jordan Love and the starters to try to get some semblance of order. But nonetheless, you look at it today. Um, Love just picked this Dallas defense apart. Aaron Jones was a one-man wrecking crew for this Packers run game. Too many issues for Dallas today. Credit to Green Bay because they scored early and they took this crowd out of the game. And I mean, regardless if it's AT&T Stadium or previously Texas Stadium, when was the last time that you watched a Dallas Cowboys home playoff game and it was as quiet in the first half as it was today? And of course, even when Dallas was attempting to rally in this contest late in the fourth quarter, there were plenty of empty seats down there at Jerry World. Now, CD Lamb, what was up with him early? We saw a lot of drop passes. He was not on the same page with quarterback Dak Prescott. Got some yardage back late, but at that point, it really didn't matter. I mean, CD finished with 9 catches for a buck 10, but at the end of the day, he did not make the plays when they mattered. Then on top of that, you look at it like this: by Green Bay going up on Dallas so quickly early, it made this offense one dimensional. And don't get me wrong, Dallas has not been able to stop the run all season long defensively, but then offensively, they haven't been able to run the football either. And of course, that just made their offense even more one dimensional. And getting back to this Dallas defense, I've said it before and I will say it again. This defense, as good as they were, they're built to play from ahead. They're not built to play from behind. And we talk about big play guys needing to step up in big play situations or big moments. Where was Micah Parsons today? He only had 2 catches and he had, pardon me, 2 tackles rather, and 0 sacks. And it's one of those scenarios where you know what, when you're running the football as aggressively as Green Bay was, it takes Micah out of the game because it neutralizes him. And we saw the impact of the Packers running the football because you just look at the play actions where Jordan Love was able to go up top and how much that Dallas linebacking core, the Dallas secondary got sucked up, to play the run because it got to the point Dallas could not stop Aaron Jones, and Dallas was trying to go all out to stop the run. A lot of one-on-ones in their secondary, a lot of blown coverages today by Dallas, as it simply was not good. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's just another case of fool's gold for the Dallas Cowboys as a whole, because this is a team all season long that made their living beating up on bad teams. We saw them again this season by blowing out the Giants on the road, coming right back the following week and beating up on the Jets at home, sans Aaron Rodgers. We saw them beat up on the New England Patriots, the Washington Commanders, and so forth. But when they played the San Francisco 49ers, when they played the Philadelphia Eagles first time around, didn't work out. And then, of course, coming down the stretch, they played Buffalo. Buffalo ran the football right down their throats. They played Miami. Miami ran the football right down their throats. They basically almost lost to Detroit, and Detroit was doing a solid job of running the football. Cool, Papa Rob. You're saying Dallas did what they always do. It's one of those, you know what? They get to this point of the season and they find a way. And when I say find a way, obviously they don't find a way to go out there and win in advance. It's one of those where I think people want the Dallas Cowboys to be better than what they are. I think people want the Dallas Cowboys to go out there and make that deep playoff run, get into the Super Bowl, and it's going to be a lot of Dallas talk. I get it, but the bottom line is Dallas, regardless of the wins, they're a flawed team. They couldn't stop the run all season long. You can't be bad at something all season long and then expect to turn on a switch. And this is why I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be one and done in the postseason as well. Because as bad as they've played coming down the stretch, I don't think that you can just flip on a switch and say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to once again be a good football team." This is who Dallas is. We saw the two interceptions from Dak Prescott today. Almost had another one just before the end of the first half when Dallas was trying to drive to get some semblance of order out there. But at the end of the day, on the flip side for the Green Bay Packers, this was a team that was 2-5 at the halfway point of the season. And over the second half, they became one of the better teams. Their backs were against the wall after consecutive surprising losses. First to the New York Giants on Monday Night Football, and then at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we saw this Packers team rally coming down the stretch, win their last three. They got healthy. And, this kid, Jordan Love, he's the future of this organization. And I will say this credit to the Green Bay Packers because they stay their course. They know that they're a small market team. They're not going to go out there and lure a lot of free agents in. But then on top of that, the way that they bring their quarterbacks along, we saw them go out there and draft Aaron Rodgers in the first round, let him sit for a couple of years behind Brett Favre before they turned over the keys to the franchise to him. And it was the same thing here with Jordan Love. And, we've seen him get better and better and better and more comfortable as the years progressed. This is the youngest team in the NFL. And I think the sky is the limit for them. Now, just switching gears real quick, TFX, what's going on, champ? You're saying Jerry is going to lose it. They were supposed to win tonight. Uh, I'll touch on that very quickly. I will say this, if you watch the Fox broadcast, obviously, Jimmy Johnson has not coached the Dallas Cowboys in about 30 years now, but clearly Jimmy Johnson is still very passionate about his Dallas Cowboys. He's also very passionate about his Miami Hurricanes. And it was one of those, and listening to Jimmy Johnson talk, it pained him. And you know what the kind of things that he would have said if he was in that locker room at the half. But nonetheless, Jerry can't be thrilled. I don't think anybody associated with the Dallas Cowboys can be thrilled because you saw all of the momentum that this team had for themselves. They beat up on a bad Washington team last week. I totally get it. I understand it. But then from there, you see the Philadelphia Eagles stumble and you're able to catch them and take the NFC East and you want to try to build some momentum for yourselves. This is when, you got to go out there and make those plays. And honestly, for me, I'm not sure that the Dallas Cowboys were ready to play today. So please, if people want to disagree with me on that, that's all good. But you just look at their body language when they took that field. They weren't ready. The Packers were. The younger team was, and the Packers went out there. I'm not even going to say that they were playing with house money. I'm going to go out there and say, listen, they wanted to go out there and show everybody that they belonged and they were the real deal. And I think they went, took that opening drive, marched right down the field, punched Dallas in the mouth, and then the way that they played defense today, and that's a credit to defensive coordinator Joe Barry. This is all about film study. You know what a team's strengths and weaknesses are. And what he basically did was, you know what? It was a shell over the top. We're going to go play a lot of zone. We're going to mix up our zones, but we're not going to allow Dallas to beat us with the big play. And that's something that Dallas has specialized all season long on. You get that ball to CD Lamb and let him do his thing. If you focus on CD Lamb, we're going to beat you over the top with the likes of Brandon Cooks. That did not happen today. It was basically a lot of stuff underneath, a lot of guys not open. We saw Dak Prescott get sacked 4 times today. Could have been a lot more. And there were a lot of struggles. And again, it also factors in when a team like the Dallas Cowboys can't run the football. They can't run the football and they can't stop anybody running the football either. And that is not a recipe for success. But again, a lot of people are going to point fingers at Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. But the thing is, and say, why didn't he adjust? It's very difficult to adjust when you haven't been good at something all season long. And I hate to sound like a broken record. The Cowboys defensively can't stop the run. Now, of course, they were one dimensional after falling into that big hole. Dak Prescott had to throw the football a lot more than I'm sure that Mike McCarthy wanted him to throw today. He was 41 of 60 for 403 with three touchdowns and, of course, uh, those two picks. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys just ran, I'm not even going to say into a hot team, but they ran into a team that was very good at exposing their flaws. And again, the biggest flaw being unable to stop the run. Now, getting back to the Colonel Jerry Jones, I'll say this much. I don't think he's thrilled. I don't, again, like I said before, I don't think a lot of people associated with the Cowboys are thrilled with the results today. He's probably going to take some time to sit back and think about this. But I'll go as far as saying this. It would not surprise me if Mike McCarthy just coached his last game with the Dallas Cowboys. I know that each of the last 3 years have seen the Dallas Cowboys go 12-5, but clearly the January results are still not there. They're 1-3 in the postseason under Mike McCarthy. Two of those losses coming at home. We saw it. We saw them lose to the 49ers a couple of years ago at home, and once again today to the Green Bay Packers. And of course, their other loss in the postseason came to the 49ers. And the Packers and 49ers both have something in common. Both of those teams can run the football effectively. But I'll tell you like this: Dallas, in the 4 years that Mike McCarthy has been the head coach of this team, they're no closer to winning a championship now than they were then. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys are still a flawed team. I don't believe Dak Prescott is the quarterback that's going to elevate you and help you win a championship. Dak is good enough to beat the bad teams. Dak is good enough to help you make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, you gotta step your game up and you gotta elevate. And it's not just about Dak who has to step up. CD Lamb has to step up in these situations. Micah Parsons has to step up in these situations. And those guys didn't. And your big playmakers have to step up. And if you're not, you're going to continue to be one and done or possibly win a playoff game like they did last year. But at the end of the day, that's only as far as you're going to be able to go. And you look at the Packers today, they made some history. This is the first 7 seed since the postseason expanded back in 2020 to win a game. And of course, this just changed things up in the NFC, and the NFC could be wide open. I mean, I am not checking the score right now, but I know it's very close between the Lions and Rams just before I set the record. But, you know, obviously now Green Bay goes on to San Francisco, and this is big because if the Lions hold on and beat the Rams tonight, that means they're hosting the winner of the Bucks Eagles next weekend. And of course, if the Rams go on to win, that also means that guess what? The winner of the Tampa Philadelphia game tomorrow night will then host a game next week. So the NFC could be very wide open this year. TFX, you're saying Parsons was quiet tonight. He got held at one time, and we never heard his name again. Yeah, he was clearly held. Don't get me wrong, but they neutralized him. It's one of those where if it's like a boxing match. If you're going out there and you're fighting a guy that's known for trying to get the knockout punch, and doesn't have a lot of good footwork, what do? You make him work the ring. You show that you're able to take that punch. You're able to use your finesse, your technique, and that's basically what the Packers did today. They neutralized them. Michael Parsons can't hurt you if he's trying to run down run plays. And again, this is what I talk about. The Dallas Cowboys did not win first and second down today defensively. And they didn't do it because they never were able to stop the run. Because for the most part, Green Bay was never in third and long. And those are the situations where the Dallas defense thrives in because they're able to go back there and pin their ears back and come after you. They never got to Jordan Love today. And we saw the mechanics of Jordan Love. A lot of that comes down to coaching. It's also the intangibles that he has. We saw him throw off the back foot. We saw him throw sidearm mix up. He mixed up his deliveries, and it was kind of like you saw another Aaron Rodgers out there. But nonetheless, I think again he really benefited from sitting behind A Rod for all of those years in Green Bay. But for the Packers, like I said, they became the first 7 seed. to win a playoff game, and now they're on to San Francisco. That's going to be a very interesting game next weekend. Now, the 49ers, their offense is a little bit more explosive than the Cowboys because the 49ers can run the football. So that's going to be another big element the Green Bay's defense is going to have to deal with. On top of that, this Niners pass rush, this Niners defense overall is better than Dallas's, but they can be had at times. So you've got Matt LaFleur going up against Kyle Shanahan. I think that should be a very interesting contest next weekend. And for the Dallas Cowboys, it's the same old song because again, I think Mike McCarthy, it really wouldn't surprise me if he just coached his last game. And I think part of it is due to another playoff disappointment, but then also you look at the names that are out there. You have a Jim Harbaugh that is being courted by several NFL teams. You have a Bill Belichick out there who just, was basically let go by the New England Patriots. Jerry Jones has a thing, he has a penchant for going out there and getting big name head coaches. He's done it. He even did it with Mike McCarthy. But he's going to try to find a guy that he hopes can get his team over the top. We've got to wait and see. But I think there are some changes coming in Dallas. Dan Quinn might have coached his last game with the Cowboys, not because I think that Jerry fires him. I think more because there are some potential openings out there for him. People are talking about him possibly going back to Seattle, where he was a defensive coordinator when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl championship to replace Pete Carroll. We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, regardless of who's coaching this team next year, regardless who's on this Cowboys team, they've got to get better running the football on offense, and they have to get better at stopping the run. This was arguably the best season that Dak Prescott has had in his NFL career. I saw him take more command of the offense. I saw him be more precise in the pocket. But at the end of the day, when it mattered the most, both he nor the Dallas Cowboys could get it done. So it's the same old song for the Dallas Cowboys. They get to January and they simply can't get it done. While for Green Bay, they went to Arlington. They did whatever they wanted offensively, defensively, basically on special teams. The Packers just dominated this game. If you pay attention to the final score, it's really not indicative of it. Green Bay, if they wanted to, they could have hung up 60 on Dallas today. That's how bad it was. But nonetheless, another bad finish to a strong season for the Dallas Cowboys. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. TFX, as always, I definitely appreciate you chiming in. Cool Papa Rob, nice to have you on here. Definitely hope to hear from you in the near future and throughout the remainder of these NFL playoffs. And of course, Mrs. Fallon Martin, thank you as well for all of your continued support, not just on here, but through the years. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. I'm William Martin signing off and saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.